Ubisoft added 4 new weapons to Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and if Reda favors us, they might be coming to his shop at some point. There are the broken weapons. I think they do not look only really cool, but they also have a pretty interesting, unique perk, like the broken blade, which is a one-handed sword. And yes, we did transmog the look over another one-handed sword, so you can use 2 of them. No, but I love how you see the different pieces basically floating, but still connected. And bam, on a parry, you have an explosion of fragments appear that will damage enemies, push them away, flinch them. So it's mostly great when multiple enemies are surrounding you. And as you see in the description, it has 3 stacks. And this basically means that every third parry has this effect trigger. There's no cooldown. And you of course see the amount of parries you got thanks to the perk above your health. So it's pretty nice for if you are parrying most of the times and for example like to rock a sword and shield, because parrying with a shield can also have this AoE blast trigger. And here you see me use the Brighten shield with some health on the parry, still one of the best shields in the game. And you find this of course during the London arc. And you see me also use some feint gear because with 2 pieces you also get extra crit chance on a parry, so you can kind of stack the effects. The Blood Wolf shield is also great, so your weapon can be on fire after a parry, and I use the major rune from the Sarcophagus shield on this sword, so then on a parry you also have a chance to have this fire blast appear, making your parries even more deadly, because only using the effect from this sword is overall not really great. Also because focusing on parries will slow down the combat quite a lot, and the perk is also quite bad against boss enemies, because they won't really be interrupted from the effect, and the damage is also not really to write home about. Still though, one-handed swords are great, and using this in the offhand, for example in combination with another broken weapon like the Sundered Slayer, is really excellent. I love how the middle part of this two-handed blade is spinning constantly, by the way. Really cool design, and also has a very good perk that does work really well against bosses. And I got some cool tactics. Of course, if you like the Valhalla content here on the channel, then leaving a like on the video to show your support would really help me out. And check out my giveaway for 2,300 Helix credits via the link in the pinned comment. And be sure you are a subscriber if you want to participate. So the Sundered Slayer ends a light finisher, so the 5th attack of a combo with a large area of fragments that erupt from the ground and deal a ton of damage and also knock enemies on the ground. So they can stomp them, for example, or easily finish them off. There is a cooldown for this one, 10 seconds, which you also see thanks to the perk that appears. Once it's gone, you can do this effect again. So it's a really good weapon if you got it under control, but it also has a massive downside, namely if you cannot finish the pretty long light combo, then you cannot trigger the effect. And this combo is even longer when wielding another weapon in the offhand. So what will happen often is that you cannot have the perk trigger when fighting some stronger enemies with better shields, or druid enemies, for example, that easily block or parry your attacks. So one nice tactic you can do is to already start the combo before the fight has even begun. So you do the slashes in the air and then you smash your sword on the ground to have the earthquake effect appear to deal damage to the enemies that are further away. You can also use abilities like the Vengeance of Thor to throw weaker enemies on the ground, so then you can easily finish the light combo too. Or I use the rank 1 version of the Siege of Paris bomb ability here. Have the enemies blow up, take damage, drop down, so they can easily trigger the light finisher as well to kill them before they can even get up. And don't worry if you did get the rank 2 version of the bomb ability. It's a bit harder to pull off sometimes, but it can still work. Good to note is that you need to have the Sundered Slayer in the main hand for the effect to trigger, so you can still use a different weapon in the offhand. The amazing Nameless Sword comes to mind, which was at red at some point when he was more generous. It does show that the system can work. Like having the offhand fire breathing effect is always great, and they can still have the earthquake appear too. Or again, that broken sword works well as an offhand weapon as well. I overall put speed runes on both weapons so you can more quickly trigger the light finisher. And you got a pretty nice combo going. And you see me now use this weapon also in combination with the brand new axe they added, which is in particular really strong. We'll touch on that in a second. Let's first take a look at the brand new bow, which kind of reminded me of the Dakkalfar bow, which you likely don't have because it's part of that premium bundle they did. Like, I totally get it because it was a pretty bad bundle. Sure, it's not a reskin, but you still see some similar elements. But the perk is very unique, namely on the first 4 headshots, you have the arrow explode as an AoE earth blast that has all the enemies flinch in the area and take a really small amount of damage that you don't even see. Like, there are no damage numbers and yeah, it's not really noticeable. Still being able to do this 4 times, after which the effect goes on cooldown for 20 seconds, is pretty good. And it's also really satisfying to see this effect go off when using the focus of the Nornir, which of course makes it even easier to pull off the 4 headshots. Bow damage has always been pretty average in Valhalla, especially when doing the charged shots with the Hunter's Bow, which still has this like Earth Blast trigger, by the way. So there's really no need to further enhance the damage with perks on a bow. So then rocking this perk instead when you want to go for the ranged playstyle is pretty nice. But yeah, good to note is that this Earth Blast does not enhance your headshot damage on the target you shoot. I do the same amount of damage with or without the effect. Now, it's really only there to quickly interrupt the enemies that are like close to each other and attacking you. So in that sense, I still think it's pretty good. And also quite different from the effect of the Shattered Destroyer, because this effect does increase the regular damage of this weapon too, but more on that in a moment. First of all, it looks really nice with also a moving piece in the middle. And on a left-hand attack, you launch these fragments to nearby enemies, dealing damage to them and causing them to flinch as well. But even if you're fighting a single enemy, the regular left-hand hits also deal more damage with this effect. This is without the perk 55, 57 and 59, while with the perk I only need 2 hits to take the same dummy out. And as you might know, you can improve this left-hand attack of the axe by using a second 2-handed axe, for example, which is actually pretty strong. Good to know though is that you need to have the real Shattered Destroyer in your offhand for the effect to trigger, also in combination with other weapons. You can also, for example, use a 2-handed sword in your main hand, so you also deal way more damage during this spinning attack. Only the first 4 hits have the fragments appear. You sadly cannot control where they go, but they usually go to the targets. And after these 4 hits, there is a cooldown of 10 seconds before, yeah, you can do the effect again. Good to know though is that when you are out of stamina, so do a left-hand attack without having a blue bar, then the perk, even though it's ready, won't trigger. And there are some other downsides, namely that if you get blocked or stopped while spinning around and only got like 1 hit in, then it will still go on cooldown. So you really have to control the battlefield and know that when you do the spinning attack, you won't be interrupted. And what I found is that having this 2-handed sword in combination with the Destroyer Axe is actually pretty strong, because they can cycle between the 2 effects. Do the light finisher Earthquake first, and then when that ability is on cooldown, the spinning attack from the axe, and really by the point that is finished, you can already trigger the attack from the sword again. So it's a pretty nice combination. Now, fingers crossed that these weapons will ever come to Redda's shop. I will, of course, keep you posted here, so subscribe for way more Valhalla videos. A like on the video would really help me out. And don't check out my new channel dedicated to Assassin's Creed Valhalla and other AC content by clicking on the screen. Would be awesome if you could go there, subscribe, watch the videos if you haven't already. We have way more content for that planned, so stay tuned. For now, I will speak to you in the next one. Goodbye.